Greetings, welcome to another video. My name is Jean-Michel. I'm a Vedic astrologer, and I've been talking about samskaras and how, as a therapist or a counselor, coming to understand how samskaras affect us on a soul and on a spiritual level. They're bringing out certain events that happen to us in our lives. In the first video, review that video, I go into deeper definitions about what a samskara is. And in the second video, I talk about how it's related to astrology and how we're born into a certain chart and into a certain family that best gives those samskaras to be experienced. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about what do we do about samskaras. So I'm going to give 5 techniques about how to heal samskaras. And as a therapist or as a counselor, what you're doing is you're working with the person and listening to them. And the goal is to improve their life. How do you improve the life? Working on character qualities and improving your habits, daily habits, using visualization, using knowledge about oneself in order to come to closer awareness of what your habits are that you're ingrained in that are causing certain problems in your life or causing certain things to happen that you don't want to happen. So these techniques are meant to the goal is to improve the character, and these are all going to be techniques that require mental work, and it's an internal process of healing, and from the inside out then a person's samskaras can start to get cleaned away and experienced without forming new samskaras. So let's go into the first technique. That first technique is don't lie to yourself, and that goes along with know yourself. And how do we do that? Well, going into the therapist's office and saying, I need help with something. When you do that, you can't go in with the attitude of, I already know everything about myself. There's going to be corners of your consciousness that you're not fully aware of. You need to be honest about the fact that you don't know every last detail about who you are. There are areas in your life and what people can say to you that are going to be accurate, and you have to have the honesty to say, yep, that is true about me. A person who is a sociopath, someone who manipulates other persons, who coerces others, gaslights them, lies to them, but inside that they know that they're a sociopath. They feel like they're an evil person and that they do things for their own selfish needs and wants. That person is actually farther along in healing themselves and healing their habits and actions than a person who's the nicest person in the world, but inside they're lying to themselves. They're not being honest about what's going on inside of them out of not wanting to know, about fear of what they're going to find out. Whereas the other person who just knows I'm sociopathic, that person, if they decide to take the step to improve their behavior, well, they already know that what their main problem is, doing antisocial behavior, treating other people poorly. Well, they know where it's coming from because they're being honest with themselves on the inside. So the first thing you have to do is be open and ready for information to come to you. And that could be going to the astrologer and saying, I want to know more about myself. What can you tell me about myself based on the map? It goes with being a therapist. The person has to be open or else nothing is going to change. And therefore nothing about samskaras will be discovered to see, yeah, I have that pattern of behavior that I need to improve on, and I didn't think about it like that before. So person needs complete internal honesty just to get started on this path. And that increases self-awareness and self-knowledge, so knowing yourself. The second technique is avoid victim consciousness. Now this is simultaneously the most difficult technique to do, but also in another sense it's the easiest thing to do because it just takes one switch of a mentality, of your attitude, in order for everything in your life to fall like dominoes and to begin changing. But why is avoiding victim consciousness the most difficult? Because of defense mechanisms that say blaming the victim, saying that it's the victim's fault. And the more a person ingrains themselves into saying, I'm a victim, the more that they're saying that I don't need to change and I don't have anything to improve. Things were done to me. Now you could be in the worst possible situation imaginable, and you could be feeling completely victimized. But the more you ingrain yourself in the attitude that I'm a victim, the less you're able to actually change the circumstance that you don't want to be in. And again, it's not blaming the victim. It's saying that everything that I do in the present is affecting my future. And everything I've done in the past is affecting my present. So I'm in a bad situation, how do I get out of it? Or I'm in a bad mental place, how do I get out of it? Saying that I'm not a victim, I'm going to actively work on improving my present situation. As I said, it's like a light switch. Once you switch out of the victim mentality and say, I'm going to be proactive, I'm going to be a victor, I'm going to be anti-fragile, I'm not going to allow difficult things and things that happened to me that weren't desirable to define who I am and prevent me from improving myself. You need to want to get better. And by wanting to get better, it's absolutely essential to not treat life as an attacker that's attacking you. Because once you're in that mentality, it's justifying present behavior. And when you're justifying present behavior, you're unable to see what you need to change personally. Because that's what you can change, is things about yourself. And when you change things about yourself and say, I'm not a victim anymore, I'm going to be proactive about improving and knowing what I'm doing to hurt myself, your future is going to improve. And that future is going to be brighter because you're taking a much more proactive stance on going and using your self-effort and using your mental abilities, everything in your power to make a better life for yourself. So being a victim, it's almost, you could say it's the opposite of being empowered. And when you're empowered, you're no longer a victim because you have the strength and you have the capability of getting yourself out of the situation that you don't want to be in. So avoiding victim consciousness is absolutely essential. And as I said, it's like once you get out of it, you're able to see life from a totally different perspective, and things are no longer just happening to you. You're putting what you want back out into the world. So how does that help samskaras? Well, samskaras we continue with these impressions on our soul, on our spiritual self. They continue happening to us because we haven't learned the lesson of that samskara yet. And when we're out of victim consciousness, we're then able to see, yeah, I didn't see that I could have changed my behavior in a certain way that would have then would have gotten me out of certain situations that I didn't want anymore. And what that does is get yourself out of that samskaric pattern of behavior and samskaric situation in life. So that impression on your soul of wanting and desiring a certain experience, both good and bad, from a spiritual level, samskaras are both good and bad. The less desire you have for a situation, the less you're then being pulled into those situations. And that brings us to the third technique, which is gratitude for both positive and negative things that happen in your life. Because I said samskaras are both positive and negative. And samskaras are based on these strong desires we have for certain experiences. When something great happens, we say, wow, and we have gratitude for that. We say, wow, thank God, thank the universe, thank my parents, thank whoever for bringing this great thing to happen in my life. It's easy to be grateful when things are going good. But when things are going bad, it's like, who is to blame? What do I blame myself, or do I blame the world? Do I blame my car for breaking down? Do I blame my boss? Whoever. But when you're grateful for the bad things, it sounds almost counterintuitive, but when you're grateful for those things, your attitude changes and you're saying, wow, thank you for this difficult situation, life, because this situation is showing me something that I need to get better at. I'm grateful for that circumstance that brought so much turmoil and destruction into my life because it opened up a door that I couldn't have seen if the destruction didn't happen. So again, it's another attitude shift. When you're happy for bad things to happen, you don't want bad things to happen. No one wants bad things to happen. But when you're not happy that they're happening, but you're grateful for them happening. And so what that is going to help do is say that, wow, I had this samskara that I had to live out, and it was a negative one. And what that experience showed me was Let's take addiction, for example. That samskara, that period of time where I was addicted to something, it could be anything. And it evolved into a negative situation. And I'm grateful for this because this is showing me something about myself that I need to improve on. I need to improve my character qualities. So that samskaric pattern of having an addictive tendencies, whether it be for power, whether it be for alcohol or drugs or for sex, anything. When you are being honest with yourself, when you're no longer a victim and you're saying, this situation is got me into a lot of trouble, but I'm grateful because now it's showing me parts of myself. It's revealing aspects of my personality that, yes, they need to be improved upon. So those difficulties in your life, you're grateful because those are actually divine blessings that are helping you along. Because people who go through difficult lives, they can become the strongest people. People, when their lives are easy, they're not growing. So really changing your attitude about bad things that happen to you and seeing it as opportunities in disguise is an amazing way to really move forward and to not keep reliving the same situations and the same samskaras, because you're maybe angry with yourself and that anger propels you to make a change. That frustration is propelling you to make a change and saying, I'm glad that this happened because this is now going to open up something new in my life that wouldn't have happened before if the bad thing didn't happen. So again, an important attitude change by treating negativity in your life as a blessing in disguise, as a divine blessing in disguise. So the fourth technique is a more obvious one. How do I heal samskaras? Well, stop forming samskaras. Well, how do I stop forming samskaras? This is about working on the desires that you have. The mental world, your mental intentions that you say, I really want that. What you're doing is you're forming a deep impression on your soul that says, I really, really want this. And usually that's a really good thing. You really want that good thing. And whether you get it or not is another story. But to stop forming samskaras, what you're doing is you're accepting things that come to you and being happy about them. Things that don't come to you, you're happy about them as well. You're reducing the desire load that's on your mind and reducing the need for certain things in order to feel content with your life. So to stop forming samskaras, we need to be accepting of our own situations and to not not to be over desirous for material experiences. And we all have things that we want in life. It's really impossible to not live life completely desireless. But the deeper and stronger you feel those desires, the deeper those impressions and those samskaras are forming. So in order to get out of that habit of always wanting something in order to be happy, you become more content with life. And you see what comes to you, oh, I'm happy for that. If I didn't have it, I could have gotten by as well. Oh, I didn't get that. Oh, it's okay. I'm better off without it. Reducing the desire load in your mind is absolutely key to stop forming samskaras. And it comes down to being able to separate your soul and your divine existence from your material existence, because when you're desiring material things, you're just you're putting those material things onto your spiritual life. But say if you have a desire just for spiritual development and you just want your desire is just for growth on a non-material level, you're actually not forming samskaras in that way. Because what will happen is that when you're desiring for spiritual growth, you're going to actually purge those samskaras out of you, because your desire for spiritual development is going to start overtake and is going to basically remove all of your material wants and desires, your material samskaras. So into spiritual development is your purpose, and spiritual development is your deepest desire. Gradually, material things are going to start falling away, and you're not going to be forming those material desires, and therefore forming material samskaras, and therefore difficulties in your life based on what those desires are. And so the fifth technique is the process of cleaning off samskaras. Now this technique comes from a system of meditation called Sahaj Marg. Now it's a very simple technique, and it requires in the morning, meditating for 45 minutes to an hour, and the focus is on divine light that is inside of you in your heart. Now, that divine light in your heart is your divine self. And what you're doing when you're meditating on that idea that there's divine light in my heart inside me right now, what you're doing is you're forgetting your material life, and you don't play sound, you don't play music. You're forgetting your material existence, and you're focusing in on just that spiritual aspect of yourself. So doing that in the morning is the process of getting closer in touch with your soul and being more in touch with your heart, your intuition, being able to have your life guided by what your soul wants to experience and less by what your ego wants to experience. The second part of the process is at the end of the day, you sit quietly for about 30 minutes and you allow the impressions throughout the day to float off of, imagine them leaving behind like smoke that's flying off your back. And when you're focusing on that idea, that allowing all of the things that happen during the day to not form inside of you and to form deeper impressions onto you, you're allowing them to just drift away. And you're not allowing the pressures that you were under, the demands from your job, the demands with your family, the things that you didn't get done, you're not allowing those things to imprint into your consciousness that then you carry over into the next day. You allow them to fly away, because as soon as the next day starts, you're going to have a whole nother world in front of you to take care of. And so the process of cleaning off samskaras, it's this process of it's at the end of the day, allowing everything that happened to just drift itself away like a passing cloud. It goes away. And that process is going to clean it. The more you do this practice, the deeper you go into your samskaric patterns, and then you're able to clear off much deeper impressions inside of you that weren't just having to do with that day's events. So you're able to go deeper, and I'm allowing these desires I have, I'm allowing these experiences to just drift away and to not affect my inner core, my inner soul, my divine self. And as this channel matures, I'm going to be talking a lot more about the Sahaj Marg practice. But that's what it is in a nutshell. That morning meditation about divine light in your heart, and then the evening meditation, you could call it, of allowing the day's impressions to fly off of you like smoke off your back. And as I said, I'm going to be talking more about Sahaj Marg. It's gone through a very interesting and fascinating history. It got morphed into a religion very recently. The religion is called Heartfulness. And don't follow what the Heartfulness practice is, because it's different from the technique I just described. Heartfulness, it's its own organization. It kind of morphed into its own thing. I'm talking about Sahaj Marg. So just to clear that up very, very simply, but as I go through this channel and make more videos, I'm going to be talking more about this spiritual technique that is very simple, and it helps you get closer into touch with your divine self. And as a summary of the video, the more we're in touch with our divine self, the less samskaras and these desires are going to be we're going to be experiencing them in our life. And the more we're able to do that, the more we can see ourselves with greater clarity, and to really be honest about what things I need to improve in my life, and where I need to go, and how do I get there? What areas of my consciousness have I been blinded to? And what do I actually have to improve in myself? Astrology helps us get really great objective definitions about where the planets are and what those planetary positions, what kind of habits they can put into us. And then when we go on a deeper level and seeing, I have this samskara for that experience because I keep repeating it, the more we're able to grow in self-knowledge and grow in self-awareness. And eventually, in order to improve our lives and to be one of those success stories that, yeah, I went into therapy, I went into psychological work, or I worked on my psychology. My therapist really helped me discover these things. My therapist used astrological techniques, or I went to the astrologer, and after that I felt better, and I worked hard every day to really improve on my character, and I feel better from it. And not a person who gets stuck in the rut of the same victim mentality that nothing about them needs to change and the world needs to change around them. So we're all working towards improving ourselves, and I'm going to be putting many more videos up on this playlist for techniques for psychologists and for clinical therapists in order for using astrological techniques, such as the idea of samskaras, to really dive into how to help your clients in a much more thorough way, and then hopefully a spiritual way as well. Okay, thank you.